Okay, what we're going to be doing this morning is we're going to be going over Fusion 360. Okay, now Fusion 360, we have a lot of ways that we can model, and the main thing we're going to be going over in these first little tutorials I'm going to be doing here, little demonstrations, is T-Splines. Now, T-Splines is like subdivision surfaces on steroids. So, in normal subdivision surfaces, if you're in like 3ds Max or Maya, then everything that you're doing has to be quads, or a few triangles in there too, but anything more is evil. You can't have 5-sided, 6-sided, everything is evil, okay? It's just quads and triangles, okay? Now, in Fusion 360, it's a little bit more robust in that you can have triangles, you can have quads, and 5-sided are legal too. So 3-sided, 4-sided, 5-sided. Okay, so this first video, what I'm going to be doing is going over some of the tools. I'm not going to go over all the tools, but a lot of the tools, most of the tools that you'll be using to actually build your surfaces. Okay, all right, let's get going. All right, so let's go here. So to get into T-Splines, you go up here, and it's this little purple little quad little here, this little cube. Okay, they're called, this is the form modeling. So you have solid modeling, you have surface modeling. Okay, we're going to be going into forms. Okay, so you click here, and now we're into our form subdivision surface, our T-spline area. Now I've got a bunch of tools on my shelf up here. Your shelf will look a little bit different. So if you go to modify, this is where all your tools are. You can tools that you use a lot, you can pin these. So you can go here, you can pin these up in the toolbar. So I'm going to be pulling up here the toolbar quite a bit. So they like insert point and insert edges. So when I'm going up here, if you don't have it on your shelf, you can, all these tools are down here. Okay, we're going to start off by, we have different kinds of primitives, different ways to create things. We're going to start off, typical way that you would do things in subdivision surfaces is we're going to create a plane. Okay, so I'm just going to come in here and we're going to create a plane on our ground, and we'll just make it, like a box. Okay, so now when you're making these, okay, tools will pop up. It defaults. I'm going to do 3 divisions by 3 divisions, and we'll set that in. Okay, I'm going to turn this layout grid off right now, make it easier for you to see. Okay, so typical thing that you would be doing, little demonstration, is we want to come in here and we want to extrude this up. Okay, now, so you have your normal move command that we may use periodically, but the tools, you get extended tools by right clicking and going into this edit form. When you go into edit form, now we can come in here and say, oh, we want to manipulate by vertices or edges or polygons, and which way we want to manipulate things, which direction, which kind of tool. Okay, so we're going to go right here and select the center one. You've got my default transform tool on this, which is a tool that has everything on it. It's got move on it, it's got scale on it, it's got rotate on it, all in the same gizmo. So it's not like in some softwares, like in Max, where you have to be in the move command, or then you have to be in the rotate command or the scale command. You have one gizmo that can do all of those. Now I can go in here and say only do one or the other. So I can come in here and say, oh, will only give me translation, or only give me rotation, or only give me scale. But it's a little crowded, but if you get used to it, this is a pretty nice tool, so we don't have to switch back and forth, just speeds it up a little bit. Okay, now in Max, in order to extrude from an edge, okay, you hold down the shift key and you pull an edge and you can extrude from it. Okay, so if I go edge here and I hold down the shift key and I pull, it won't work. Okay, it's the Alt key. So it's the Alt key inside of Fusion where you can clone an edge. Okay, now some speed keys. By default, when you go into subdivision surfaces, okay, so T-Splines, okay, so what's happening is that we're holding the Alt key and then we can clone. Now, what's happening is by default, everything is smooth, okay, so your speed key here to is Alt-1 goes into your box mode. Alt-3 is smooth mode, and you can do both. Go Alt-2, and Alt-2 will give you your, it's the smooth with the base shape on top of it. I don't use that a lot. Sometimes I use that. I'm usually either in the box mode, Alt-1, or in your smooth mode, Alt-3. Okay. All right. So let's back up on that. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and I'm going to go to my polygon mode, or my face mode, and I'm going to hold an Alt key, and I'm going to pull straight up, and I'm going to want this to be more crisp. Okay, so I'm going to go Alt-1 to look at this. All right, there we go. All right, so I want to keep this box shape, so we want to put locking loops in here. Okay, so it's your typical way to approach things. You want locking loops. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go to Insert Edge here. I'm going to double click on this, and then I've got the tool here, and I can come in here and drop a edge in here. So I'm going to right click and click OK. Then I'm going to go in here, and by the way, in your little quad menu pops up, I can go drag to the top, and it's going to repeat the last thing that I did. So now I can double click here, and I'm going to put a locking loop over here. Okay, repeat that. Oops. Actually, hit that. Let's go back. Okay, there we go. And all right, there you go. So that's putting some locking loops in there. So we're starting to hold that base shape. All right. Now we also, other way is we want to be able to cut things. Okay. In Fusion, they don't have a cut tool. What they have is an insert point tool, which is basically a cut tool. Okay, so I can go, okay, I want to cut across this and up and across and back down and back to this edge and stop. And then I'll repeat that. Let's go back this way. So this insert point is like a cut tool. All right, we need to cut back across the other way. Now, eventually, I hope they get some better tools in here, like a swift loop would be nice, but they don't have a swift loop. So their tools are pretty good, but they could be better. Okay, so there we go. That's getting better. We're getting closer. All right, I want to hold this top and the bottom a little bit tighter. So we also want to cut around it. And we need a locking loop around this bottom here. Okay, so now we're holding our shape. Okay, a couple other things is like if I go into my edit form, okay, and I go into my edge mode and I double click on it, it's going to grab all the way around it. And you'll see how this is not level because the way I cut it. So if I click on this edge, which is the edge for the scale up and down, if I type in 0 here, that'll flatten that out. Okay. So same thing here. Edit form. Make sure you're in your edge mode. Double click. Click, go in that direction. 0. Then that straightened those out. Okay, so we can also do our edges, so we can double click here. Now, by the way, if I hold down the Control or the Shift, you can add to it. So it could be Shift or Control, and then Shift or Control, double clicking on it again will deselect. All right, so I've got all those. Hold down my Alt key, and I can drag straight down. Okay, so now the thing I want you to notice on this is, can you see how some of these edges are thin, and then this edge is like thick? Okay. When it's thick, that's showing you that that's a seam. Okay. Now it could be one of two things. It could be a crease or it's a seam. A crease is where we've gone in and said, hey, we want it to hold that edge. So when I go Alt 3, that it's going to sharpen that edge. Okay. Or it could be a seam where this vertex is not welded down here. Okay. In this particular case, it's because those edges, when we made this, were sharp. It assumed that we want this to be sharp too. So it assumes we want to keep that edge. Okay. Now, we can take that. It's called a crease. And so we have Crease Tools and Uncrease Tool. So what you can actually do is just select the whole thing, hit the Uncrease tool, and then click OK, and then you'll see it's taking those away. So now I'm saying, no, I don't want that to be a hard edge. I want it to smooth it. Okay, now, of course, an open edge is going to be a crease. Okay, we have some other tools in here, fill hole tools, Cylinderify, you've got a Subdivide, we've got a bridge, we've got a smooth tool, we've got a match tool. So we have a bunch of other tools in here, and I'll go over those as I go over some of these demonstrations and teach you more and more, but I'm going to teach you how. Now, eventually we've got to come in here and we've got to finish this form. Okay, when we turn this off, it will no longer be subdivision surfaces. It's making it so that we're working towards it being a solid. So I can turn this off, and once I turn it off, then you'll see we're losing all of that control because now it's a solid shape. Now it's not completely solid. Whoops, we didn't get this one over here. So now we can always go back down here and re-edit this, and we've got to uncrease that edge too. I missed that one. Okay, there we go. All right, so we can finish the form. And so now it's on its way to being a solid. Now, this is not a solid. If you go over here to your body, okay, you'll see that it's a body, but you'll see the icon is different. Okay, what it is now is it's a surface. So it's not a solid yet. It's a surface. So we went from subdivision into being, and I'm going to get rid of that because put another one in there. Okay. So now to make this, okay, what I could have done, and we'll go back into this, is I could have capped this. Okay, so right here, I could have said fill hole, and I'm going to double click on this edge, fill the hole, and it will fill that. Okay, now when you're filling that hole, there are three different styles of ways you can do this. Reduce star, what this does is turns this into subdivision surfaces. Okay, so it's doing its own way of subdividing this, and sometimes this is fine, sometimes not. You've got collapse, which takes them all into a vertex here, or we can just go fill it, and we're not, because it knows that we're going away from subdivision surfaces, so I don't need it at this case to be a quad anymore, because we're converting it to, oops, didn't like that. That's not the one I wanted. Why did it do that? Anyway, I don't know why it's doing that. It shouldn't do that. stop that. So I'm going to show you a way that I do it. I usually don't do it this way. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish this form. And then now that we're in our surfaces, okay, what you can do is patch that. Okay, so all we have to do is go patch and click this, and then it's going to patch this. Okay, so this is, the surface is a modeling process inside of Fusion 360 where you can make surfaces. They don't have to be three-dimensional, okay? So I can surface this. Now, when I do this, you'll see that it makes two of them because this is a separate piece. So in surfaces, in order to make it a solid, you have to stitch it. So we just select the whole thing and we say stitch. It's going to select that, knows there's where it needs to be stitched. I click OK, and now it's a solid body. So you'll see your icon now is a solid body where you can come in here and start using your solid body modeling tools. Like I might want to put a fillet on this. And I could put a little fillet on this, like so. And so now you're back into your solid modeling, just like you were for anything else, where we can come in here and put a hole in something or whatever we want to do. Now you're back into your solid modeling. Okay, so I'm going to go back. So what we're going to do is roll back to subdivision. And then I'm going to go ahead and just go back in time. And I'm going to get rid of these. These were just for demonstration. Let's go back. Now, another thing that can be done too is when you're at this state is we can actually come in here and we can thicken this. Okay, so you can come in here and go thicken. And what we can do is, it's like a shell command. And now it's a solid. So when we would come out of here, it's not liking something I built. I'm not sure why it's doing that. All right, so let's back that up. Okay. Okay, now one thing that throws me off sometimes, let's say that I want to come in and I want to delete this. Delete this. You can't delete while you're in the edit form. You have to cancel this. Now I could delete in here. Okay, if I wanted to, I could delete that and then have open edge and I could pull from there. Okay, so typical thing would be something like take this and then I want to extrude that out, but I wanted to hold that hot edge in here, so I'm kind of building subdivision surfaces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my Alt key and I'm going to drag this corner. This is scale, and I can scale it in a little bit there. Okay, then I'm holding my Alt key again, pull this up, and then pull it up again. And then we've put locking loops in there as we're modeling. Okay. So let's finish that. Let's turn our grid back on. Okay, create forms. Now, we do have primitive shapes we can create in here. So you have a box. And then when you're creating your box, of course, this is, basic box. And so what we're picking is we can extrude it this way. We can change it, how the size. These tools are telling you how many subdivisions you want. So you're controlling that with the gizmos. And of course, you can type everything in up here too. All right. Then when I click OK, Alt 1, you'll see we're making a box and it's being smoothed. Okay. Then you can work from that box mode. Okay. I don't normally build this way. A lot of people are box modelers. I'm not really a box modeler. Okay. Alt, pull again, pull again. Okay. Might decide we want to insert edge here. And I also can do this where it's both sides. Okay. So I'm putting me some extra loops in here. Okay. I can also, I can come in here and I can delete an edge. Okay. Just hitting delete. Another thing I can do is I can pick this and I can slide an edge. Okay, so I can slide this one way or the other. If I wanted to slide this around, I can do that. All right, another thing I can do is I can cut this here. Okay, and this is called Unweld. So instead of just cutting it, you click this and this will basically split this into two pieces. Okay, so now I could come in here, I can move this. And then I could bridge this. Okay, so to bridge, you're going to come in here and grab this, bridge tool. Double click here. Double click there, and then it's going to bridge. Now you've got a preview mode in here that you can click, and it's going to show you what it's doing. Okay, I'm going to want, say, maybe 2 edges in here. Now, what happens sometimes that you have to pay attention to this is you have these little arrows in here, and sometimes the arrows could be going in opposite directions like this, and that means it's going to twist when it makes it. So you have these flip directions in here, and sometimes what happens is you come in here and it's doing this, and that means that this is first vertex and it's going to connect this to that. So you have to make sure that you go, no, I want these to be connected. Okay, and then I'm going to make 2 subdivisions in there, and I click OK, and then it's going to fill that in. Okay. Let's, so the delete key will remove it out of there. Okay. Now, there's another tool right here called Subdivide. Okay. What that does is if I pick a quad and I click that, it's going to subdivide that. Now, here is a 5-sided shape. So that's those are quads. There's a 5-sided shape. And that's still a legal shape in T-Splines, where that would not be an actual legal shape inside of Max or Maya, but in here that's a legal shape. I still have a tendency to, try to follow a normal subdivision protocols and quads with a few triangles, but it is a little bit more relaxed of an environment in here. Okay, so you also have a cylindrify, which if I click on something and I do that, what it's doing is trying to round things. Okay. There's also a relax function called smooth, where you can come in here and you can click on that, and then it's a percentage that you can smooth things out. What other kind of tools? Okay, so we're in our edit form, and I grab a vertex and I want to start pulling on a vertex. Okay. You also have we can do soft selections, okay, where you can extend it out. And you also have snaps in here. There's different selection options in here where you can grow, you can shrink. And on your soft selections, then you'll see where you can round this out. So this distance one, you're setting a distance for your soft selection. So you have some additional tools inside of this area in here. Okay, that's the basic tools. I'm going to show you some advanced tools in the next video, but just get you started. So when you're inside of Fusion 360, we're normally in our solid modeling tools. Sometimes we're building surfaces, but this ability to build subdivision surfaces is a huge advantage when we have certain things that are more organic shape, more organic types of things that we want to build. Okay. All right. Hope that helped you. Thank you, guys.